Who's ready for Little Cup? I know I am. That's a lie. I am FishOnAHeater. This is Pallet Town PvP, and we're going to take a look at the basics of the Little Cup meta in just 5 minutes. Now, if you want a complete breakdown of the meta, then we live stream a chat here on this YouTube channel every Tuesday night US time. You can check out the link to this week's video in the description, or you can click here. And we highly recommend it this week because there's a lot of good information in that overall complete breakdown that I'm going to refer to a couple of times in this shortened version. But in the meantime, here is your basics, and you've probably heard that this is going to be Bronze or Cup. It is so busted in this meta. You can see the overall score here, 99.5 out of 100 versus the second place Pokemon, which is 89.8, below 90 basically. Depending on moveset and IVs, out of the 394 Pokemon listed on PvPoke in this meta, Bronzor can beat like at least 370 of them. So it's crazy, right? Now there are two things you need to know if you're planning on running Bronzor in this cup. The first is that it says Confusion there. We absolutely prefer Tackle because Tackle allows you to beat an opposing Bronzor that has Confusion for a start. That's the big one. The other one is the Dark types. A lot of people will be bringing Dark types to try and counter the Bronzor in this meta, and Tackle will allow you to beat those Dark types. Now, Confusion does a little better against your Fires, but again, I prefer Tackle myself. The second thing you need to know is that in this case, IVs matter. There were so many sims that we went through on the complete breakdown where the Bronzor would come out with like 20% of its health left, right? And then we'd go, okay, what about the rank 1 Bronzor? And we'd change the IVs and sim it again, and they'd come out with like 50% HP left. So that can make an absolutely enormous difference to your battle. So the higher stat product Bronzor you have, the better it will be for you. So then how do you want to take on the Bronzor? You've obviously got to put 2 other Pokemon in your team, right? You can't be just 3 Bronzors. So there are a few options. You got your Dark types, which while they don't beat the Tackle Bronzor, they do come very, very close. Dino is probably my favorite because of that Dragon Breath damage. You got Galarian Zigzagoon, you got Pawniard is very good. Pawniard does beat the Tackle Bronzor, but it's very hard to get one under 500 CP because it's a hatch Pokemon. Same with Vullaby here. Vullaby is very consistent against Bronzor, but you can't really get one under 500 unless you trade for it. Shadow Stunky is another one that I'll throw in there as well. That's a pretty popular one with its bite and crunch damage. So then you've got your fire types, and Vulpix, of course, is the best one. I kind of prefer Quick Attack. I know a lot of people run Ember, but that's really dealer's choice for that one. Tepig, not very popular, but still pretty good. Growlithe and Litwick as well. Litwick, funny story, because Bronzor is such a low attack Pokemon, its tackles are doing basically 1 damage to everything else in the meta, which means because a move can't do less than 1 damage, the tackles are doing the same amount of damage to a double resisted Litwick than it is to everything else, which is crazy to think about, right? Then you've got your Mud Boys, which definitely lose. They just cannot compete with the bulk of the Bronzor. A Mud Bomb does about 20% to a little over 20% to a Bronzor, so keep that in mind if you do plan to run one. It's you'll need either heavy chip damage already, or you'll need to just like farm down a fire type and come out of it with 100 energy to throw mud after mud at the Bronzor. So they're your specific picks. Now let's talk about some general strategies that we discussed throughout the stream. And the first one is what I call the Divine Wind strategy, which is the use of Ducklet. Now this is the first Little Cup that we've had since Ducklet got access to that buffed wing attack. So it's getting to Brave Bird in just 7 wing attacks, and a Brave Bird from a regular non-shadow Ducklet is powerful enough to one-hit KO almost everything in the meta. It's basically everything that does not resist flying type moves, and some things that do resist it are getting one-shot by this thing. So it's a perfectly good strategy to just keep on trying to Brave Bird, burn those shields you're either going to burn their shields or take out those Pokemon, right? Until they've only got their Bronzor left, which has got to carry the team. So that's one thing. You've got then the all bulk strategy, which if you sort these Pokemon by stat product, Bronzor is the best. Wynaut is almost as bulky as Bronzor, and then Shelmet is also pretty bulky too. Those three together make a pretty viable team. You can run those three and just out-bulk your opponents. Now, Bronzor and Shelmet both weak to fire Pokemon, so you might have to like ABB it with Wynaut in the lead, but that's a strategy if you've got the XLs and the Stardust for it, right? And the third thing is just what I call it teamwork, basically. Like your Dark types, for example. Your Dino here is going to take a Bronzor pretty low. Even though it won't win, it's going to take it pretty low. So what you can do then is like soften the Bronzor up so that another Pokemon can come in and farm down and just have a whole bunch of energy built up to kind of pressure the rest of the team. So that's it for Little Cup this week. If you have some picks, some teams in mind, some strategies, share them in the comments. Not only are you helping other players to learn and join the conversation, you're also helping this video get pushed to more people, share it around. So that's it. Good luck with Little Cup.